So you have multiple products in your business. You want to obviously start pushing across all the products. You want to obviously run ads for all the products. This is how you should structure your ad account in order to scale each individual product, but also making sure we are obviously making profitable actions and not just really confusing things inside the account, and really making sure that we have a very consistent and clear account structure that will lead to scale. Because this is one of the most tricky things that you can do when you have multiple products. Because I see literally every single week, I would say there's a business that I audit that has multiple products that they just mess the account so much. Not even going to mention about creative. So we're going to talk exactly how you can actually structure it in a way that is again very strong. So you got a multi-product ad account here. One of the most common mistakes I actually brand make is, I see this all the time. They want to obviously, like let's say that they have a hero SKU here. Oops. So let's say they have a hero SKU, right? Which is like the top performing product essentially. So let's say that they have, basically how usually happens is like you have, let's say for simple kind of numbers here, you have 100K per month in revenue, right? Like this is gonna be basically broken down. If you have, let's say like multiple products, I'm not gonna go into the kind of thousands. I mean, maybe have like 5 SKUs. Usually 1 to 2 SKUs is gonna be like 80K or like maybe like 70K, something like that. And then you're gonna have all the other like lowest performing products maybe like hold 20% of the revenue, which makes sense. Not every product is there to scale. Some actually should be used in retention and to obviously make sure we have basically we are squeezing as much revenue as possible out of each customer. But this is just to put this in perspective. So with that said, we go into the account and I see, I talk to business owners every day and they're like, I want to really push this product. And I'm like, it doesn't even make sense, because they really want to push a new product, or maybe a product that maybe just hasn't seen the same level of like awareness compared to the hero products. And they're just trying to move away from the hero product. Now, obviously, if you are scaling potentially to like 500K plus a month, now we are going to be talking about, okay, let's start bringing in a few new products. Let's make sure we have an NPD. But if you have a decent TAM for your product, total addressable market, there's no reason why this shouldn't scale. But I digress a bit, all for the reason to just go back to my point here. Like, does a product have strong gross margin and unit economics? Does it make sense to actually push it on the first purchase? Because some products, when you run the numbers, it won't make sense, right? By means, obviously, we're not going too deep into economics, which I'll make a different scaling video about that. If a product is like, if you have like below 50% gross margin on a product, it's very hard to make it work on paid media without any level of like subscription, upselling. Again, I'm not just isolating on that data point here, but this is something as like a general rule. Again, you can make things work with like 40%, even like 35 maybe. But again, it's really like make sure you have strong enough gross margin. Now, if yes, is it a top performing product? Like obviously based on your data, let's say that this is not a new product. Maybe you have data, maybe you're kind of pushing it via email, maybe doing a bit of Google there through shopping. This is how I would do it. I would go basically based on how much obviously this product is actually generating, how much revenue this product is actually generating. And then I will go into the account structure. So I wouldn't pick, like, again, depending on your kind of brand size, I wouldn't pick more than 3 products, to be honest. I think with three products, unless you're obviously a multi-SKU brands, for example, a fashion store, or maybe like, I don't know, a big retailer, like something like that makes sense to have 1,000 SKUs. And by SKUs, I mean, again, unique SKUs, not like a different color, right? So I wouldn't go beyond, like, to be honest, 2. Like, I don't see the reason why you can't scale to 500,000 a month, even more, with just a couple of SKUs, to be honest. And adding more complexity, it will just take from the creative resources and the overall strategy, because obviously I'm guessing each product is also going to be unique. Now, with that said, again, I know most of the video so far has been about maybe persuading you out of like creating of pushing multiple products. But this is just because I'm seeing this all the time. It's not really the key thing to do on those low levels. Now, if you are at the right level, absolutely, let's go into and put it into meta and into ads. So what exactly that looks like then? You have a top performing product. Let's say that we have 2 or 3 key products. I like to isolate, and this is one of the most common mistakes, into different campaigns for each product. Each product should be isolated into its own environment. I kid you not how many times I've seen this being a mistake. I recently started working with a brand that they do circa around 50 million in revenue. Obviously, it's not just Meta, it's a well-established business for like 10 years. But I'll take a look at the account and they have all the products stacked in one campaign. It's actually insane. It's literally insane. And obviously, each product is like wildly different. It is a kind of cleaning product, a clean business. So they have like say dishwasher tablets, they have laundry capsules, they have something like that. But so it's completely different kind of pain points. Maybe not completely different, but obviously different pain points within that kind of niche. But most of the times, and I say, unless there's a very good reason, which so far I just haven't found one, is let's isolate each product into its own campaign. So product A, product B, product C here, it's just one campaign which has its own budget, own creative, which is very important that I'm going to touch on. And obviously it has, specific bidding, and obviously we isolate this product here. Now, having said that, this is how really how simple it is to actually structure the account. I will just isolate it into a different campaign. But wait a moment, we have a bit more here to go through because obviously you can't really scale with one campaign, right? So obviously this is so far what we had. We had, for example, one hero product, which again, it was already in the account. And then we added, let's say, product 2 and then product 3. Now, obviously this before had 100% of the total spent. So we need to make sure either, in my opinion, we add more spend just to test this product, because obviously this product here has driven the scale, has driven the business so far. So we don't want to start pulling away spend from that, pulling away learning, especially if we are in a decent position, and really start adding more spend into this. Now, if you can't do this, I want us to just start with one product and maybe like start putting like 10 to 15%, something like that here. So again, we don't really want to dilute the spend too much. We're not going to make any learnings and we don't have any proof that this is actually working, nor the creative that we are going to be producing for that. So this is very important here. So at a simplest level, you add another campaign for the new product. I would just start with stacking 10 ads, maybe 15 ads, putting like $200 to $300 per day depending on your kind of budget, and let it run, to be honest. See how that kind of pans out. Now, once we start kind of having some green shoots here, and we just move from that, I guess step 1 of that process is what I like to do a lot is add a testing campaign. Now, this is going to be a game changing. A lot of people, like when they're trying to expand internationally or like add multiple products, obviously it's very easy to add another campaign with just creatives, right? But just to kind of, I guess, visualize the complexity that adds to the business, you need to have another resource for creative, right? Which means potentially a dedicated creative strategist, maybe not at the start, but maybe definitely later. Or maybe there's going to be some time that is obviously pulling away from your current CS, right? Then you're going to have obviously spend, which we talked about, but then we're also going to have, completely different like messaging on this, which again is going to be completely different thing to kind of scale here. And really it's really, really important to just stress that again. So when we add the creative testing campaign, it's super important, right? Because obviously this testing campaign, so far we had one testing campaign potentially for the hero product, right? When we tested different concepts, different stuff there. Once we start scaling and we start proving some decent performance in one of the other products here, the first step is go into the existing campaign and add, start testing there, a few ad sets. Or if you have the budget, I will go straight into a separate testing campaign as this here and start again segmenting this into its own, testing process, hypothesis process to obviously start making progress there. And this is how you can basically get kind of replicating the winning format of that core campaign into multiple products here. Now, does that mean that every product should have its own testing campaign? Not really. I would argue initially potentially have one testing campaign, one big testing campaign with adding multiple products in. Again, not ideal, but it will save you some spend. It will keep it consolidated and keep it tight. If you're scaling hard, yes, let's add specific testing campaigns for each product here. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's pretty much it in terms of like the account structure and the key things to consider when you have multiple products. If you love this and you want a free, absolutely free course, click the link below. I have a full course going into how to scale your brand with paid ads, covering everything, to be honest, from offer, account structure, creative, Google Meta, and even landing page and scaling further. So if you're interested, click the link below. And I also have another link if you want to directly work with me one-to-one and you want this to be, and you want to receive book some time with me. Thanks a lot for watching this, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.